Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Fandom Family Chats. I'm Jeanette.
I'm Eve.
And this is our One Chicago night, which I was so happy. I missed it last week, so glad we're back. And we'll start off with Med. This episode, my two favorite guys got to work together, which was exciting, but they definitely were kind of butting heads just a little bit over this patient.
They were butting heads a lot of it.
No, I didn't like that part, but when I can see Will and Crockett on screen at the same time, it's a happy day for me.
The thing about Will and Crockett having a storyline together is that both of them I feel like they're so similar in the way they approach taking care of, like, doing what it takes to take care of patients, to the point where they just clash so terribly.
I definitely think like their drive to take care of their patients is similar, but like their methods I feel like are always like polar opposite, which is what makes it like interesting to see them like do stuff together. And maybe that's like the ED doctor versus the surgeon. I feel like surgeons usually have a different mindset than the other doctors do.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't know. Crockett was anyways.
His hair looked real nice at the beginning there. When he was in the interview, I was like, oh, he looks nice in a suit.
He looked real good in that suit.
I was like, he looks so fancy. I loved it.
Mm-hmm. That press conference, though, my favorite part of the press conference, though, was watching Will in the background just kind of look at him like, are you serious right now? Like, because like if you were to imagine like the two role reversal, like Will could not do that sort of like, he couldn't be in that position. He wouldn't be able to do the whole like getting all fancied up for the camera. I don't think. I can't ever see him doing that.
I can't see him wanting to do that. I can see him going through with something if he was forced.
Yeah. I feel like he'd be awkward though as like a spokesperson.
Like if Sharon said you need to do this for the hospital, it's good for the hospital, he'd do it. But he wouldn't be as charming on camera as Crockett was.
No, not at all. But I mean, Crockett, like they're like going through this whole, they called him I wish I had jotted down exactly what they said, but they called like, they were talking about him being like a hero and all these things. And I was just like, okay, like he was, but like, I feel like we're laying this on really thick right now.
Yeah, I felt that too. I was like, so is doing our jobs now being heroic?
Yeah, I mean, he was heroic in his, I mean, I get it, like definitely, but like
it was a little
much.
Yeah, I was like, let's just take it down a notch.
Mm-hmm.
He did some real good stuff and let's move on.
Exactly. Which I'm sure, it obviously is good for the hospital though, because we even see like when Maria comes in, I mean, at first I love that she asked for only Will. And I was thinking when they said they've got a patient that only asked for him, I'm thinking, who in the world like is like Dr. Halstead or no one? But I mean, turns out it's because she's known him, which I'm telling you, I think I said this in the chat. Like we know I'm like Will's #1 fan. Okay, like I think this has been clear already. But like when he works with kids or like works with like old ladies, like there's a different side of him that comes out. It's just like, because I don't feel like Will usually has the charm. Like I love him, but he's not exactly like charming. I wouldn't call him charming ever, but he has this like sweetness about him when he's working with those kinds of people that I think he becomes charming. And it was really cute to see him interact with Maria, and we find out his family's been going there together since he was small and stuff, so that was fun.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean. I love seeing him with kids.
Mm-hmm.
He'll always walk in and be like, hey, so I'm Will. Like
he just softens, like, and he does that, like, I think, like I said, with like older, like usually older, I don't know about older men because I haven't really seen that much, but like I'm a little old lady like this, like you saw him kind of soften, and I don't know, it was just different than normal Will, and I love it.
I loved Maria was her name.
Uh-huh.
I loved her. She was such a hoot.
She really was. I liked her a lot. And I was worried because I was like, oh man, let's not do anything to poor Maria because I'm like loving this woman.
I was afraid something was going to happen to her, like based on the promo that we
Mhm.
saw for the episode. I was like, oh gosh, are they going to kill poor
I
Maria?
know. I was worried too. But so obviously there was, now I did miss, and this is what happens sometimes, the medical stuff goes over my head. I'm not sure exactly what happened to her hand, but we had to get it checked out and get a surgical consult. Can't
It's
it's
a hard
late, guys.
word.
It's late. Okay. She had to get a surgical consult, on her arm, and that's when they brought in Dr. Handsome, as she called him. Which
I thought
not
that
wrong.
was I thought that was hysterical. Shh, let Dr. Handsome speak. Like,
See, me, I'm getting angry as like Will's number one fan. Like, excuse me, Dr. Handsome is already standing right there.
like you got Dr. Handsome and Mr. Also Handsome.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I said to you all. Just imagine for a moment going to the ED because you got something wrong, and then like Will and Crockett are there to take care of you. Like, I'd never want to leave.
Oh, I'd leave and then I don't know,
Admit
break
me.
another limb and go right
Yeah.
back in.
I'd be visiting the ER every day. We digress, though. Okay, I've gotten distracted by talking about Will.
That,
This
that
happens
is your
every episode.
that is your one and only dream in life. Be treated by your Dr. Handsome.
Be treated by Dr. Handsome, the real one, Dr. Halstead, and maybe be arrested by Officer Rusek. I'd be willing to serve my time on that one. Anyway, I know it's late, but no, like this, and Crockett coming in, and I mean, I feel like this is the way we always see it happen, like on these shows with the surgeons. Immediately, their first thought is, well, surgery, of course, because that's what they do. And sometimes that's correct. But Will's, worried because, she's what, the pasta queen? Is that what they called her? I mean, so she uses her hands. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, she's a cook and has a restaurant and stuff. And so he's wanting to try other things. But that's when I got a little annoyed with Crockett, just kind of like how he just kind of shut him down without even like, kind of like this whole, no, 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 no. I know what I'm talking about. Like, we're going to do this, which was a little too cocky for my liking.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate it. Like Will had a really good point. It's not
Mhm.
like he was just wanting to do things his own way. He had a really good point. Crockett was just like, nope, we're doing it this way.
Yeah.
That's what the patient wants. I'm like,
And well, and
okay,
Will,
no professional discussion
right.
about
And it's not even like Will was like, surgery is like definitely not the right option. He was like saying, like, let's make sure we present both of these options to her and let her decide instead of making it out like surgery was the only option, which it wasn't.
yeah, and I know in real life it can be confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And when if I was sitting there and was told surgery is the best option, I mean, what am I going to do? Obviously, I'm going to believe them because I don't
Yeah,
know anything about being a doctor.
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
I mean, when Dr. Handsome tells her that she needs surgery, Maria's going to believe him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that bothered me too.
Yeah. And then even during the surgery, like when they came in and they were like, oh, the lieutenant governor's here. Like, he's not done with this surgery. And at first I was like, okay, Crockett's gonna be cool because he was like, no, 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 I'm gonna finish up. But then all it took was a little push for him to be like, okay, Kai, you can close up. Like, just because this is a higher profile client, you're just gonna like, not client, but patient, you're just gonna leave this. I mean, I get it that not always, we see that a lot. Attendings don't finish up, they'll let, the residents, whatever, like close up and do those things. But since this was already kind of it seemed like a risky option, that it was worth him sticking around to make sure that nothing went wrong.
And also, since when is it a priority to leave and, go be handsome on TV versus,
Right.
I don't know, finishing a surgery?
Yeah.
That another doctor was already really concerned about in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And you were closing up. So I feel like, I mean, I don't know, how much longer does that take? I feel like you've already done the bulk of the surgery. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. It may take 45 minutes to close up. I don't know.
I mean, we've watched so many years of Grey's Anatomy. I feel like we should be experts, but we actually don't know anything we're talking about.
No, we don't. But of course, I mean, like something did go wrong. Like they get back into the room and like her arm, there's no like blood flow to that arm. And I was like, oh, I thought for sure like the woman's gonna lose her arm. This is what's gonna happen right now. And I missed how they say, and I don't know if I just missed this or they didn't really show us like exactly what he did to save it. And he did fix the situation, but it was close.
Yeah, he did fix it. I don't remember what the exact fix was.
Maybe they didn't show us because I felt like I missed that part too.
But I'm glad he did fix it because Will would have been pissed.
Yeah. I mean, because Will was upset at first when he found out he left. I mean, you know, he went back later and, you know, said like, you know, hey, I shouldn't have, you know, spoke to you like that. And I was proud of Crockett then too, you know, to kind of like admit that he was wrong.
I didn't see that coming for him.
I didn't either.
He was wrong. So that was really interesting to see.
Yeah. But, you know, because I would really love to see, that's the one that made me realize that that is the one thing that I think Med lacks that the other ones don't have, is we don't really have, and we did it first, but anymore we do not have like the friendships of the people that work together.
We did have it in the very early seasons of the show with Natalie, Maggie, and April.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, since you know one of them has left and one just really isn't around as much. Yeah. I mean, it's just poor Maggie.
Yeah. I mean, April just now came back, but
I mean she has Sharon.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we don't see, I mean, I guess every once in a while we see Sharon and Daniel having a friendly conversation. But otherwise we don't, because I'm like, has Will ever had a friend? Like it'd be nice if he did.
His brother just joined the army. He needs to have a friend. I mean, went back to the army, whatever. He needs a friend. He's sad now.
And I like that. I was like, these could be like this could be like a friendship. I mean, I don't know. That's something I'd like to see more of on Med. It's like the actual like friendship, because you know they are friends. I mean, I feel like even when you have coworkers you work with every single day, you're gonna have someone that you connect to, and like there's gonna be relationships because you're with each other all the time, especially probably doctors that work the hours that they do, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
the kind of friends outside of it.
Yeah, and the kind of work you do, there has to be a level of trust there too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'd like to see that develop too. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about Will and Crockett being friends. He needs to be Dr. Hanson needs to start being a lot nicer to Dr. Love of Jeanette's life, if that's gonna happen.
But you know, I mean, I got so mad this episode, right? Like, I mean, I was glad that like Crockett finally admitted that he was wrong, but I kind of wanted Maggie to admit she was wrong too, because at the beginning of this episode, she's like going all crazy about she didn't believe that Vanessa could possibly be the one that caused that issue with the drug dealer, that it had to be Will. I'm like, it wasn't Will.
I'm glad it's not just me, because I'm getting I've never been this frustrated with a fictional character. Yeah. I am so frustrated with Maggie right now, and I don't like it because I love Maggie, but she is annoying me because Vanessa even flat out told her, I got the drugs. Yeah. Will told me no, I got the drugs, and she's still like, I can't believe he got you into this. I'm like, nobody got her into anything. Your daughter has a mind of her own.
Mm-hmm. And you know, the thing is, Will gets all this crap for being this rogue doctor. But really, I feel like he has not been that person in a few seasons.
He's still fighting hard for his patients. Yeah, and I know he had a moment earlier this season. I don't remember what it
was. A tiny little thing. It was when he gave that lady, or no, there was a moment. It was about supply chain issues again, but it wasn't anything big. Like, I can't even remember what it was now. Probably
he's come
a
long way since the whole DNR debacle.
Yeah. And I feel like that's what he's still always associated with. I'm like, that was like, what was that, like season 1 or 2? That was a long time ago.
That was season 1. That was the first storyline I remember.
And I know he took that fall for Natalie, giving her mom the drugs, but that wasn't him again. He just was covering because he's a good person who takes up for like the people he loves. But anyways, Vanessa. And I'm going to talk about Will as
We,
he loves him.
yeah, we need to have a Will podcast. You can just talk about him all by yourself.
I could. Shelby's never allowed to be a part of it because she just Amanda either. They bring down my Will vibe.
Amanda doesn't like Will either.
She doesn't dislike him, but she doesn't care for him like we do. This is like
What?
the Will fan club.
I don't understand.
I know. I don't get it.
What's wrong with them? We need new friends.
I know. They're clearly watching a different show. But Vanessa's patient this week, I really kind of did. Vanessa's not like someone I've not disliked her, but she's not someone that I've been like, oh, I love Vanessa. Like it's just not. I've never really cared for her either way. I enjoyed her this episode like a lot.
Yeah, I just haven't been given enough time to really come to love her.
Mm-hmm.
This is her second full season. Is that right?
I think no, she came in season 6, but right? No, maybe it was just last season. Wow.
I think she was around at the end of season 6. Like that's when Maggie found her.
Okay.
But I think last season and this one are where she's been around on a more like long-term basis.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like she's always been a sidekick.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
As other doctors go. So we haven't really been able to see her on her own, but I loved seeing her with her patient who he seemed like a cool guy.
Yeah, and I think, just hearing about, I mean, she like just absolutely pepped up whenever he mentioned like that he worked for that like foundation. And I mean, she just knew all about his work. She was talking about her passion for like infectious diseases when she was in school, and it really just gave her some depth that I think we've been missing. You could even see that, like, I feel like I kept watching Maggie in the background, and it was almost like Maggie didn't know this piece about her either. So it was like this brand new information that she was so passionate about these different things. And I think it's good that she was, because Samir, I mean, he's quickly getting worse. I mean, rash develops, like some things that are just really crazy. And I mean, she worked really hard and was able to like diagnose and figure out what was going on with him.
Because I know scurvy has been a thing on a lot of the shows that we watch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's been on Grey's. Grey's has been on forever, so it has to have been on Grey's at some point. I just don't remember.
We need Amanda.
But
she would remember.
Every time they diagnose someone with scurvy on a show, it always still just sounds so fictional to me.
It does. It's like what pirates get. Like it's not something that you think of that like real people.
Well, it comes from lack of, a balanced diet,
Mm-hmm.
which is what happened with pirates and sailors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They didn't have a well-balanced diet at sea. So it makes sense, but still, when I hear scurvy, I'm like, no, that's not real.
Well, I think that was his reaction too. He was like, you're kidding. Like this isn't, like, people don't really get this. But
that's the reaction from any patient on a TV show whenever they're diagnosed that way. They're like, what? That's real?
Because it's like something you don't hear of. But I think that shows like that this may be Vanessa's calling, that she was able to figure that out, especially since it was something so small. And it's not like she consulted with any of her like, attendings that had been there for like a longer period of time. And she was able to diagnose this all on her own, just off her instincts. And so I really enjoyed seeing her do that. And then of course, though, as soon as I decide like, oh, I like her, he offers her a job. And so she's gonna be leaving. I'm like, how many doctors are leaving med? Because are we gonna have any left?
I know in the other med group, before I watched the episode, they don't have a spoiler ban in that group, so I try to avoid it. Yeah. But people were talking about how people from med just keep on leaving and
Mhm.
they don't want to watch anymore. And I'm like, well, I'm still gonna watch, but
Unless Will leaves, I'm gonna watch. So
if Will leaves, I mean, well, I'll still watch it, but I'm going to be very unhappy. I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to be very unhappy about watching it without Will there.
I'll watch it and I'll complain about it every single episode. That's what I'll do.
Like,
No, I
remember
don't
Will?
think he can
This
go
is what
anywhere.
he would have done if he was still here.
Yeah. But I mean, I like to think, he couldn't go, but I mean, Ethan's leaving too. So I mean, like, I would have never thought that Ethan was gonna like officially leave either. So I don't know. But I mean, Maggie's obviously really apprehensive of Vanessa going, but which is understandable. I mean, this is her daughter. They've not had long to like build this relationship. So I get it. But I kind of think like if that means that he's gone or that she's gone, that means that her dad's also going to be out of the picture and we can like not worry about that anymore because that's been stressing us
Yeah.
all out anyways.
I was stressed out about her marriage and everything. So if Vanessa leaves, then
Mhm.
oh well, no other guy.
Yeah.
I don't even know his name. I didn't even bother to remember it.
Grant, I believe.
And
That sound
that's
right?
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's not what's her husband's name? It's not his name, right? I'm not getting
Ben,
okay, yeah, then Grant it is. Yeah, that's it.
I know we talked about how Vanessa, I needed more time
Mhm.
to really get to like her. I feel like they did a huge like 180 with Dean
Yes.
because I'm really liking him now. I don't know what's going on in that writer's room. I have a feeling they were like, okay, we've been on the social medias and we know this character is totally unlikable. We got to give him something.
Yes. And I like even like his little I think it's him and Hannah together. Like I like their chemistry and I don't mean like a romantic chemistry at all. It's more of a mentor mentee like type relationship I feel like. And I like it. Like their chemistry works in that I can't even remember. I wish this is what I would need to write down things. There was even something he said that was like a real smart ass comment. And I just laughed out loud because I've grown to love that about him. It's kind of like Sam. Like they make these like really like comments that coming from anyone else, you'd be like, oh my God. But from them, it's funny and it makes me laugh. He really helped Hannah out this week too, I think.
Definitely. I mean, it kind of went both ways. She ended up
Mhm.
having to help him in the end
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
That poor patient.
Mhm.
They were so set on not doing that surgery. I felt so bad for her.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like the pregnancy storylines always get me more than the other ones. For maybe that's being a mom who's had two kids, but just hearing their story of how they've been trying really long time to like get pregnant, and then it's an ectopic pregnancy, which is just heartbreaking altogether.
They
And then
seemed pretty calm, like when they got the news. I mean, obviously they were sad.
yeah,
They seemed very practical too. Like the wife was saying it's not even viable, right?
right. Yeah, I think
So,
she was just. It made me
but
wonder. Like, I mean, obviously they've had troubles before.
maybe it's because of them. I mean, obviously they said they've been trying for so long, so it's evident they're very well aware of almost anything that can go wrong with a pregnancy.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
didn't surprise me that she knew what an ectopic pregnancy was.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, what a heartbreaking story that she, um, obviously the job that they have, it's not like she has like paid time off. So I mean, she's pleading with them to not do any sort of invasive surgery, because she can't take the time off. So Hannah assures her we can do it laparoscopic, and you'll be out of there by that night. But then again, these stupid supply chain issues, which are like blowing my mind. They don't have the cables, or I think it was the cables, whatever it was that allows the picture to be on the screen and them to be able to see what they're doing. They don't have those.
It's like they're short everything.
How
Is
are they
there
functioning right now?
can there be at least one thing in the hospital where, there's a surplus of, whatever it is?
It's just crazy to me. And I mean, like, they, their options that, Dean makes the comment that they could just do it blind, and I mean, obviously she's like, no one knows how to do that because that's like from the Stone Ages. So they're forced to just kind of wait it out. And of course, her fallopian tube burst, and like now she's in like a critical position.
That was stressful too. I
Yes.
was like, and I was still stressed that we're gonna lose poor Maria. So I was like, oh god, they're gonna kill Maria. They're gonna kill the ectopic pregnancy lady. I was like, this episode sucks.
Yeah.
But Dean, so what was his deal? He was still hurting from that episode where he got hurt, right?
Yeah, and they weren't really, they weren't really explaining, in my opinion. I didn't notice, like, why was he not letting people know? Was it just that he just didn't want to have to take off work? I mean, at first I thought, oh, maybe he's afraid of taking pain pills too for some reason.
I think it's just a pride thing, really.
Maybe, yeah. He's just being that guy that doesn't want to admit that he's actually hurt.
He was he's a military vet. I don't know if that plays into it. But I just took it as a pride thing. Yeah. I didn't think there was anything else there. But I'm glad that he admitted that he couldn't do it. And Hannah, I wanted to call her Jessie because that's the actress's name. What is this lady's name? But Hannah luckily was able to step in and save the day. She's just like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah. How cool. I mean, like, between that and like the thing that him and Ethan rigged up the other episode, I was like, this is really cool. Like, they're going to get them through this supply chain like issue. Like, and that's from being in the field and just being able to think on their feet and make things out of nothing. So
yeah, I mean, Ethan's leaving soon, but maybe we can put Dean in charge of solving the supply chain issue.
Right? Just make your own supplies, apparently.
Just MacGyver it.
But I mean, bravo to Hannah for, I think she's a really good doctor. And I really am happy that they brought her back, and happy that they brought her back clean, and that we can have a chance to see her, do what she's good at some more. And then see her friendship with Dean too. Like, even at the end, like, she was encouraging him, which he wasn't wanting to listen, but, just encouraging him to, like, talk to someone about the pain and not to try to hide it from everyone, because that's not doing anyone any good. So
yeah, I'm interested to see where that friendship goes.
I love it.
Not a match I ever saw, but I'm like,
yeah,
I really like this because they're different enough. They're different enough where it's going to be really amusing.
Yeah. Well, there we go. We wanted a friendship. Let's see them hang out. Can they like go to like, I don't know, take them to the bar, take them to Molly's. Like, let's see them hang out, because how fun would that be?
I feel like the med people don't really, like, we never really see them at Molly's as often as we see them on Fire and PD.
Yeah, I remember Will used to be there a lot, but it was not in med episodes. It would be in like a PD episode where we'd see him there with Jay. Of course, now that Jay's gone, we may not see that anymore either.
So. Yeah, I mean, I know we see med people occasionally, but like kind of as like minor little character crossovers, but we never see them there during an episode of med.
No, I think the only time we ever did was that's where Will and Natalie had their engagement party, I'm pretty sure, or bachelorette party or something. But I feel like that's the only time we've ever seen that featured on a med episode.
And it kind of gives me the illusion that med is just in its own little world. It's not part of.
Well, and I think it's because they do so much studio filming that I think it kind of is. It's not, they don't get as many opportunities for that, which is a bummer.
Where do they film med? Do they film in Chicago too?
There's a big studio where they all film. Me and Maureen tried to stalk it, but you can't get anywhere near it. So it is what it is.
No Dr. Handsome for you.
No, I was trying. But I mean, this one was hard, but like the last patient that we saw in this episode, I feel like that was the hardest one to watch.
Oh gosh, that was really emotional.
When she came in, I mean, it was just, I mean, I don't know. I was like, where are we going with this? Because I mean, she rushes in there. She's got her baby in her arms, like kind of takes it to Ethan and like tells him like, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt him. And my first thought that popped in my head, just like I think, the doctors there was postpartum depression. And it was just, oh, it was rough.
And yeah, this poor woman, and she's sitting there believing that the ideas she's having about, hurting her kid
Yeah.
is just completely not normal. It's like nobody talks about that. And I'm like, of course no one talks about that. Nobody wants to admit that that's what's running through their head.
And I wish they did more, because I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe not to that severity did I ever have like envisions of that, but I had like postpartum rage. And they called it for me postpartum anxiety instead of depression, because it wasn't, I would just get so angry at like my child crying, which is what they're supposed to do. But I could feel like, I mean, just hot all over. Like it would make me really angry. And I mean, I feel like every once in a while I had those intrusive thoughts. Did I tell anyone? Absolutely not. Not even my husband, because that makes you feel like you're the worst mother in the world. But unfortunately, like, I mean, that's something that definitely happens. And so I wish it was okay to say those things out loud more, because it doesn't, the fact that she brought him to the hospital and didn't do it means that she is a good mom,
I mean,
It's
kudos to
hard.
her. Yeah, kudos to her for getting him to the hospital and
Hmm.
admitting she needed help. I mean, granted, the help she thought she needed was to have him removed from her care. And I was thinking, I really hope that's not
Yeah. And thank
how
God.
this.
Yeah. And I mean, thankfully for Dr. Charles that he wasn't willing to just like diagnose her with postpartum and like move on. Because as soon as she started describing her symptoms and she said something about the ringing in her ears, I was like, oh, no, wait a minute, that's not something, I don't think it's associated with this.
Yeah,
Turns
that
out,
sounds physiological. I was like,
yeah,
oh, okay, so there's something else. I was thinking that the
felt
something
like a
else
brain.
is what was causing the
Hmm.
postpartum, just kind of like with Maddie on 911.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was her. That was her thyroid or something, right? Crazy.
And
But
with Maddie on,
Maddie,
yeah, that was
which
her.
is wild, because we're gonna go ahead and like I have like issues with my thyroid, like Maddie on 911. I had a little bit of this postpartum stuff. And then we find out this lady had Bell's palsy that I've also had an episode of. I'm just like, this is wild that I'm like seeing all these similarities.
Her stroke happened so fast. Like 1 second she was holding the baby, the next
Mm-hmm.
she like basically shoving the baby in Sharon's arms, and then
Yeah.
she's having a stroke. I was like, is that real? Like, do strokes happen
I,
that fast?
I think they can. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but it definitely, and maybe that, I don't know. See, the ringing of the ears, I didn't know that part, but I mean, maybe that was sort of as it was coming on, and that was just, the final step in it. But they got that. And I mean, even after that, though, she's still, because of those intrusive thoughts, like we were talking about, she's still worried that she can't take care of him. And God, I love Sharon. She is just, I mean, the best. And I loved hearing that, because I mean, we know Sharon and we know her as this great, like, super mom, runs the hospital. She's got all of her stuff together, and to hear her talk about when her little one was, a baby, and all of the things that she thought about doing, that, I mean, it was nice of her to be willing to go in there and share her stories, and help this mom feel like it's normal, and it's okay, and you're going to be just fine.
And Sharon, who we see as, strong, possibly super mom, even said in her speech that another friend of hers, who she thought was super mom, also had the same thoughts. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I'm not a mom. You can probably speak to this, but I feel like moms just look at other moms and they're like, well, they've got their act together. Like, what the heck is wrong with me? But it's a vicious.
I
Everybody has
do.
things that
I mean, and it's
they
because,
don't think are normal, and it needs to be talked about a lot
yeah,
more.
and it's because, like even the lady in this episode said, like, what we put on social media, we share the joy, we share the happy moments. We don't share the kid having a meltdown in the middle of Walmart, which almost happened to me today. Like, we don't show those moments, because why would you? Those aren't moments you want to share with other people. But like, they happen.
Like, no one just goes out to lunch with their friends and says, oh yeah, so my kid threw a big tantrum in Walmart and I had to carry them out like a surfboard under my.
Yeah, we don't, and I mean, a lot of times because that also makes you feel like, oh, well, I've done something wrong here. Like, why is my kid acting spoiled? Why are they doing this? Like, obviously, I'm not doing a good job. It's not true. I mean, like, kids are kids, and they act like children sometimes. That's just the way it is.
Children act like children sometimes. Wild.
I know, like imagine that. So
I'm so glad that she seemed so thrilled about, or not thrilled, but really
yeah.
relieved when Sharon mentioned some kind of like group setting where they could, support group. That's the word. Because as soon as Sharon mentioned the support group, she was kind of like, oh yeah, I would like that so much. I was like, oh goodness.
Well, I mean, even just her talking about, because I feel like, I mean, I remember like having a newborn, like it's like the loneliest you could ever feel because you're sort of like tied to like your house and you're tied to this and like, like making friends as adults is really hard. Like I wish we could make friends like we did as kids, which I guess we all kind of did. We just joined a group and we're like, hey, I like you. Let's do this together, But
You
that's
like 500 million shows. So.
Yeah, we should be besties now, But normally that's hard to do like in person. We had the internet to sort of shield ourselves to do this, but it's hard to do that in person. So the idea of a mom support group, yeah, it's good. And I know we got to move on to the preview here in a minute, but I have to mention something. It was at the very beginning of this episode, but it made me smile so big was when they like showed like April in the bed and Ethan's like leaving her that cute little note that obviously they spent the night together and they are going to see each other again. No, I'm happy for that. And that is the only silver lining to knowing that he's leaving is that it looks like he's going to still be with April.
As long as April leaves too, I mean, I love April. I want her to stay. But as long as April leaves too, then, we can just live in, the happy little daydream that they are living happily ever after.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's what, I think it's been hinted that there's going to be a wedding at some point. My guess is it's going to be theirs because I just feel like that'll be the way to send it off. I mean, we'll see. Next week, like I am kind of excited because it looks like there's going to be more Archer development, which we're all very excited about.
Circling back to how we're, coming to like Dean a lot more. It seems like they're finally giving him a more like meaty storyline because unfortunately it looks like his son was stabbed in prison.
Yeah.
What's the term? Shanked?
Shanked.
Is that the verb?
I think so. I've never been in prison, but that's what I hear. Yeah.
I've never been in prison and I never plan to be, but I hear that's what the kids call it there. But sounds like he was stabbed in prison and he's gonna wind up at the hospital. And from the preview, it didn't seem like he's terribly happy to see dear old dad.
Yeah. And then also like not just is he there, but like the person that shanked him is also there. And that is an interaction that I want to see between him and Archer because Archer's not exactly like Mr. like cool and calm. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he handles having to work on the guy that stabbed his son.
It's gonna be an intense episode.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be good. So I think that's all for mid. And I think we're gonna move on to fire and Maureen's gonna join us and Eve apparently has more important things to do tonight. So she's gonna rush off to the grocery store and leave us.
Way to go, Eve.
Apparently food is not important anymore.
No.
Who needs to eat? Okay.
No one can afford it right now anyway.
That's true.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
So this episode, this was the one we were looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
We were correct. And this was the one that we saw filmed at the jewelry store explosion.
That was kind of neat to like see because we were watching these pieces come together and it was just it was crazy.
It's amazing to me that we know how long they were there. They were there all day. And this is like 2 minutes of the show.
Because when they were inside the building that was on a stage. I mean,
Yeah.
that building didn't actually burn down. So the
No.
only parts that were part of it was them outside the building and them initially walking in, and that's it. That's where it ends.
Yeah.
So it was what we
Man.
saw. I mean, we got there. They were already there, and we got there like 8:30 in the morning, 9 in the morning, something like that.
Yeah.
And we left and came back, and they were still there. And I think by the time we actually drove away, it was like 5. It was almost 6, I think.
Yeah. It was dinner time.
Yeah. Because we left there and we went to go get dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So it was around 5 or 5:30. So they were there like just for 2 minutes of a scene. That was crazy. There is, if you right after Stella says, "Gallo, you're with me," that you see on the corner behind Gallo, they blurred it out. But there's a girl who looks like she's holding a big white cardboard sign. And she was there when we came there the second time when we came back. And then there was that guy in all black who was running all around taking pictures while we were there. You could see him clearly standing off to the side. And then you see there's like 3 or 4 girls who are standing there talking. And I think that's you and the 2 girls we met at the PD scene. And then there's a girl in a pink top with short hair and blue jeans. And that's what I was wearing that day.
We made it into an episode of Chicago Fire.
And that's zoomed in. Like when it's not zoomed in, you can see it clearer. But
that's
pretty exciting.
I know. That's pretty cool.
So we were extras in Chicago Fire this week. So that's pretty fantastic. And where you can find us, it's for like a millisecond. So you have to like pause it. The only reason I saw it is because I was hyper watching the background because I knew where we were in relation to the trucks. But it's when they're in front of the jewelry shop and Stella says, "Gallo, you're with me," while she's talking to him. If you look in the background, you see a group of, how many people are there?
4.
There's 4 of us, and then a girl off to the side with a sign, and then a guy in all black. And I'm the one in the pink shirt. And then Jeanette is like kind of right next to me behind me. Yep. So it was neat. I mean, it was
like celebrities over here.
Absolutely. If only Billy Riggins would have come over and said hello. I'm so sad.
That makes me like irrationally angry, if I'm being honest. I was hoping this was not our episode. Because yes, we love Chicago Fire and we love all these people. But the thing is, Billy Riggins and the whole Riggins family have been like, I mean, I adore them. And that has been a much longer love than my love for Chicago Fire. So,
and for those of you who don't know, Derek Phillips, who played the jewelry owner in Chicago Fire this week, he also played a character named Billy Riggins in Friday Night Lights in the TV series that was it early 2000s?
Yeah, early 2000s.
So it was a bummer.
I realized I would have been like, Derek. I think he would have loved it too, don't you think? I think he's the kind of guy that would have loved it.
I think he would have even loved it if we were like, I think he would have been on board him if we yelled Billy Riggins, because didn't he say nobody likes Billy Riggins?
Yeah, he said that on his podcast. He was like,
love
no
Billy
one
Riggins.
loves Billy Riggins.
We do.
I do.
And I think the other thing is I think we did see him there, because there was a point in time when we were walking, we had to park next to, it was a Range Rover car dealership kind of behind where that jewelry store is. And we were trying to take our time, and Jeanette's like, you know what, maybe I'll just smoke one last cigarette. So we're hanging out kind of behind the extras, just watching. And there was a guy in a blue suit. And I remember saying, oh, I wonder if there's like an executive there. I think that was Derek Phillips in his blue suit that he was on in the show. So we were close. We were real close. So it was neat. This episode had a different sort of special meaning for me, because it was just, it was an amazing day, and we got to meet these really fantastic people, and we were in it, and it was just fun. So that's just neat.
It's really cool. It's really cool.
So it's hard for me to transition off that, because I just want to keep talking about that experience we had, because it was fantastic. If you get a chance to go see a Chicago filming of any of the Chicago franchises, I mean, don't impede their production. Don't stop them from doing their job, but go watch it, because even if you talk to the crew, they are like some of the nicest people. So nice. I mean, the one guy who we met who was talking to us, like, just go up to the snack table. Just go talk to him.
Like, everybody needs a snack. I'm like, good point.
And even when they were telling you to back up, to go away, there was only one person who was kind of rude. Yeah. And even she softened. They were all really nice when they're asking you to move. Just obey what they're telling you to do. Go watch it. It's fun. If you're ever in the Chicago area, go do that.
Yep.
So this week we obviously had the jewelry store explosion, and I absolutely, at first I was kind of like, Gene seems suspicious. But then when he was giving
I
a
did
statement, I was
too.
like, oh, I guess I was wrong.
No. And maybe it's because I was like, Billy Riggins, like, I'm not going to believe that he did this, even though, I mean, Billy Riggins definitely would. So that makes no sense whatsoever.
Absolutely.
But in
didn't
my
Billy
head-
Riggins get in trouble for doing his chop shop and selling parts of
Absolutely.
cars?
But I still love him. And so I was like, I'm not going to blame him for this. It's got to be Gene, that old man. But I did have the thought, I was like, so he had all this information. Oh, I wasn't using the machine. Oh, the diamonds were in this, but I didn't check them like the night. But there was just so many things to his story that I was like, Gene, I'm not so sure about your story. I don't like how this is adding up. But he got hurt. And so that was the one part that you were like, well,
Yeah.
he did get injured. Why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
But he was in the room, so he probably didn't think he would get hurt. And that's where my head was. He didn't expect it to be like that. He didn't expect to actually get injured in that other way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that it's crazy how the other reason I was kind of like, well, maybe it is Billy's because of the way he was telling them, stop putting the fire out in my store. Like, well, that's a weird thing to request.
Yeah.
I mean, your really thick glass is already blown out.
Yeah.
People have already stolen your stuff. And maybe his thinking was really, you're flushing my diamonds down the drain. Maybe that really was his thinking, but the looters had already come by.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think he was responsible for the fire, but I did think, okay, he's probably got some jewelry in there that it's shady for some reason.
Yeah,
He's not
that's
want
what I
people
thought.
to know. I was kind of like, he's up to no good, but I don't think he started this fire.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I thought maybe he was trying to like get insurance policy while keeping the diamonds is kind of where I thought. And there was a moment there where I thought maybe he asked Gene to do it and they're working together. That's kind of where I was kind of near the end.
Yeah.
Because he didn't, Billy, what's his name in this episode?
Mr. DeMarco or something. Like DeMarco, yeah.
It's going to be really hard to not call him Billy throughout this. So DeMarco. Oh, you have in the notes, it says Mr. DeMarco and in parentheses in all caps, Derek Phillips, exclamation point. So DeMarco, he seems suspicious through the whole thing, especially with how defensive he got at every step of the way. That was the only reason I was
we
thinking.
already knew. I mean, I don't know. We probably definitely, because we're like, well, I mean, it's Billy Riggins, so he's of course suspicious. So that probably played into that a little bit for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just weird how he came on the scene. It was just, but I mean, that was obviously their intent was to make it seem weird.
Yeah.
And I didn't know like that glass was like crazy thick.
Yeah.
What did he say that was?
I forget what he called it. I don't remember exactly.
I wonder if like all jewelry stores have that because that looked like military grade glass.
It might be so that you wouldn't want like someone to just break in like that. So maybe, especially like maybe like high-end jewelry stores and stuff.
Yeah. And it was suspicious where Gene was like, well, he was the last one in. And that was kind of where I started to like be like, whenever someone says, oh no, it couldn't have been me. I was not in there, but this person was like,
yeah, you shifted the blame pretty quickly there. Yeah.
But I mean, the suing of the CFD seemed off, just the way he immediately got a lawyer. I was like, what is happening here? But I was disappointed in Stella because just in how she was when they went to the door, because Kelly's the one who has done this before. Kelly is the one who knows what he's doing. And he told her, we're just asking questions. Do not get aggressive. And she still there was twice where she said something, Kelly like had a sharp look at her and try to soften the blow a little bit. But I mean, that's just Stella. Stella's a straight shooter. And she's very like, no.
I think that's why like usually I do get annoyed with Stella, but I didn't this time. Maybe that's why, because I was just like, do you know your wife and you just ask her to not be aggressive? When has Stella not been aggressive?
It's true. It is kind of more Kelly's fault for longer to come along and telling her that. But I wish that she would have been like, okay, Kelly, I will bow to your knowledge on this. I know it's investigation. We have to tread lightly. I think she should do that, though. I think that she sometimes should listen to other people who have more expertise in an area than she does. But that was the only point. It was just that one little part right there where they were talking to him that I was like, but you could see her jealousy pop up when she was like, oh, well, I'm kind of good at this stuff. And then Kelly was like, you are?
But she kind of was.
She was a little bit.
I didn't expect her to be either. But then, like, I mean, she's the one that found the timer and like all this. I mean, she solved the case basically for him. Like, it was pretty impressive. And I even liked at the end when they're, back at his place or whatever. And she's like, I'm a better partner than, oh, what's her name? I can't
There's an
remember.
S.
Yes, I had it.
Seeger.
Seeger.
It's Seeger,
And,
yeah.
and he kept until she basically like forced him to say like she was the best. And I don't know. I do like their cute little banter. So
Yeah.
that was a fun little moment.
And Kelly, I mean, do you really think Kelly could be with someone who's not that dominant?
No.
I mean, he needs someone exactly like Stella. So I don't think there was I actually thought that was cute. I thought it was funny. She clearly is a little bit jealous of Seeger still.
Yes,
Which,
of course.
But she, even then, it wasn't like, oh, she's going to take my man jealousy. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't like she was insecure about it. It was just, I know she's into you. And
yeah,
I don't like her because she's into a married guy.
What woman does like someone
Exactly.
who is into their husband? Like you wouldn't, you know.
And honestly, if she wasn't a little bit jealous, it'd be like, Stella, do you even like your husband?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be jealous, like for sure.
Those parts made me laugh. It was just the little interrogation of Billy, DeMarco. that was like, Stella, come on.
No, I can agree with that.
I did laugh out loud when Jean came into the store and then Kelly was just sitting on the back of on the ambulance. And
you know where I thought he was going to be in the ambulance. And Jean was that's where I thought he was going to be. And I was going to love it. Like just sitting on the bed, like holding the diamonds. Like, is this what you're looking for? That's where I thought we were going to go with that. I thought that would have been great.
I thought he was going to be outside where he was, but I didn't expect him to be like, I should have, but I didn't like know exactly what he was going to say. But I don't remember how he worded it. Something like, you're a little late, Jean. And just the way he said it, like, I don't know. It was just his posture, the way he said it. I laughed out loud when he said it.
Yeah. No, I liked it too. It was a good Kelly episode.
It was.
Like I enjoyed
it. Was a good Stella episode too. It was nice to see her because we've been complaining about how they've writing her leadership skills for weeks. Yes. It was nice to see her return to Stella. Yeah. To the Stella that we fell in love with. This is who she is. Not that other crap they're writing for her.
Yeah, I agree.
I do like it when they separate it out. We get like fire and then we get the medicine and we get kind of, but they still co-mingle together. I kind of like it when they do that. And so we got that this week with Sylvie and Violet going out on a call and finding a patient. And that was, at first I was like, what are you doing? I don't understand anywhere where what happened. It was not what I expected. I did not know where they were going with that.
I didn't either. I mean, when he because they pull up and he's obviously unconscious and they've got to, take him in. He's not responsive. And then he wakes up in the middle of the ambulance and is just going to bolt. And he just jumps out. I was like, are you kidding me? I thought it was going to be a mental health issue or something at that point. But it's even sadder than that because it just means, he obviously had, I forget what he said, a seizure or something was going on where he was having seizures and the ER trip was so much. I can't remember how much.
$20,000 he said.
That's what it was. And then he said the pills were $900 a pill. Did he say $90 still?
My chemo drugs is $75 a pill. And that's a lot of money. That is $1,000 for 2 weeks.
That is insane. I just don't understand how you expect people to afford that. It's not like it's healthcare too, which shouldn't be a privilege. Healthcare should be a right for everyone. Yeah, it just should. Because even in case, sometimes insurance covers stuff. Some people don't have insurance.
Some people can't afford insurance though.
Exactly. And so that's what that's a huge thing of mine. Healthcare should be a right of every single person in the world. We all deserve good healthcare. And this guy was, he's willing to risk his own life because he literally cannot afford things. Yeah. And thankfully, Sylvie had talked about, someone else in her paramedicine program that had basically, she's not in it anymore because she'd gotten clear scan with her cancer. And so they weren't going to be visiting her anymore. And so, she said that he jumped out of the right ambulance because here she was able to offer him this spot to be able to get his medicine for free. And I don't know if these paramedicine programs, if it's based off something that is real in other locations. I'm sure it probably is.
I think it is everywhere. Because they mentioned, and I think sometimes when they slip this in there, it's actual. They mentioned that there was a trial program starting in another state. And so I think that they actually got this idea for something that's being run in a trial in a different state.
I think it's a great idea. I love it. But yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things that I love most about like 51. Like they care so much about the patients and the people that they're rescuing, but they also like, I mean, one of the biggest examples, I mean, they do it for their people inside their house too.
Absolutely.
But like, just thinking back to like a rescue, like when you think of like Joe and Hobby and all that Joe has done for him, I mean, that's what these people do. And this week was a good week for them.
Joe's face when like when he came home and Chloe and Javi are sitting there being all weird, I thought maybe she had told them, spilled the beans about they want to adopt
That's
him.
what I thought. Yeah.
And I was like, why is Joe not picking up on their expressions? Like, come on, Joe, be quicker. I want to find out what this is. I want to find out what they're so excited about.
Yeah.
And the look on Joe's face when Javi said, "Can I call you dad?" It's like, oh, that's
Really
so
sweet.
fantastic. And
Yeah.
it could not happen to a better person. I mean, Joe he doesn't get talked about a lot on our podcast because there's not a lot of individual storylines on him.
Yeah.
But Joe is an amazing human being. He didn't have to take this kid in. He didn't have to fight to keep this kid. He didn't have to do any of that. But that's just who Joe is. And that's who Chloe is. Obviously, it's who Chloe is because Chloe loves this boy unconditionally too. And I really loved seeing more of that story this week. It was really heartwarming. And I was glad that I don't know if she was a social worker or if she was an adoption worker, but she was trying to tell them without telling them, hey, let us know everything, but make sure you word it in a way it's not going to tip people off. Because at first I was like, really? You're not going to accept it? But she was actually guiding them for how to word it on the application. So they doesn't look like they're hiding anything, but also knowing that, Javi's not going to be around someone like that. So I appreciated her candor in that. And she even said at one point, stop telling me about it.
I mean, I don't need to know anymore. Yeah.
So I hope they let us see that situation get resolved. I hope that at least by the end of the season, we see Javi be fully adopted into them because, I mean, what's his brother's name again? I forget.
Leon.
He was asked to step back into the gang unit by the police as a CI, not even a CI, it was undercover. He didn't go in there by choice. Well, he did agree to it, but it was by police protection with a wire to implicate someone else.
Yeah.
So it's,
yeah, I get it because
absolutely.
I understand that we have to you can't allow these kids to be adopted into a home where I get it. But because we know and love Joe and Chloe and Javi, I don't want it to be this way. So I hope that we're able to find a solution. I want it to be a realistic solution though. I'm not sure how that works out. Because I don't know. I mean, and I hope it's not like he can't be around Leon either. I don't like that either because it sounds like Javi already loves Leon and has a relationship with him. So that's not a good solution either.
Well, I think the realistic solution would be taking into account what his gang involvement was, how he was in there, and the fact that because he did this as a police thing, he would have protection of the police because Leon does. He has that protection of the police custody or of police from doing this job. And I think that could play into, okay, well, he needs to have this much time with him and this much time away. He can't be around him alone. I think there's probably going to be strictures like can't be alone with him, can't be out and about with him by himself. And police have to be looped in on, hey, this is another person involved. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Be realistic. And it was really, I like I said, I hope we get to see the end of that storyline. I hope it comes to a conclusion that we can accept. And that's because we don't want to see our people hurt. Right. We don't want to see him hurt. The fact of the matter is this kid doesn't have anywhere else to go either. So that's going to play into their favor. Yeah. And I think that what we saw in someone else, it was nice to see Carver, who, we've been talking about for weeks, that where does he belong? Does he even have anybody else? Does he have anyone around him? And we kind of got to see Gallo and Ritter rope him in. And I really enjoyed this part of it too. This was a really good week for Fire. I enjoyed this part of it.
It was so funny because we've talked about like Gallo and Ritter are two of my favorites just because they're comical and they're funny and I really enjoy their storylines. But just when they're trying to talk to Carver, Mouch is another one. He was like, man, that guy's a mystery, like no one knows anything about him. And when he left his like locker door open just a little bit and the look on Gallo's face, I was like, oh, he's going to look in his locker. And they're all trying to talk him out of it. But, he was going to look at it. Poor Sylvie was just like, you can't do that. She's always, the voice of reason.
But I like too that Ritter was like, you can't do that. And he's looking at it while he's
Yes,
saying you
yes.
can't do it.
But there was nothing in it. So like nothing even helped them out. Like he doesn't have any pictures. He doesn't have
Mhm.
anything. He is a mystery. And I want to know too, like what's up with this guy.
I feel like they've been dragging this secrecy thing out for just tell us already. At least give us a piece.
Yeah, something.
I don't want this to be a season long thing where we're trying to figure out who is Carver. Why is he
Yeah.
so I don't want to do that all season long.
Yeah.
I want to find out if I'm supposed to like him or hate him.
Yeah, exactly.
And
they
I
were
did
like, why are you never at Molly's? But I mean, he's got his own hangout apparently.
he likes to get beat up. So I mean that's
Yeah,
sort of his thing. I wonder if that's how he releases steam, that he just has to get beat up consistently.
Maybe because he seems like he was like just happy with it. I loved when they overheard it and they were like, maybe it was sweet of Gallo when he was like, maybe he just wants to feel like we want him to be a part of things. And I'm like, maybe,
Yeah.
So it was a nice gesture that they went over there. But then they all ended up in the brawl with him, which was
Poor Mouch.
I know. It's so funny. And Mouch knew because Trudy had said he'd been like, in these fights already. And they were all
Mhm.
mad at Mouch because he hadn't told them that that's what Carver does.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, they said something about like, you didn't tell us that Trudy had mentioned, he's been in these fights before. So really Trudy's already told him he's been arrested or
I
whatever.
didn't know that.
But Mouch didn't share that information. So yeah.
I did like the conversation that Ritter and Gallo had outside where Gallo's trying to tell Ritter how close they are and what they all mean to each other. And he's like, have we finished each other's sentences? And
It's like
Ritter's like, never in my life have I finished one of your sentences.
because I mean, yeah, they're like, poor Gallo is so unaware of himself that it's adorable though. Like I absolutely love it.
Because he does, it's not like he's so unaware of himself that he's can't laugh at himself or he can't like
No.
join in. He laughs at himself all the time and he loves the people he works with. It's not, there's no ego in it. It's just
Yeah.
dopey.
He
It's
is
adorable.
self-absorbed, but not in like a cocky way.
Mhm.
It's just his brain just only thinks of what's going on with him. He just doesn't even think about it otherwise.
Exactly. And I did like when Stella came in and she's like, wow, you guys look like you've been hanging out with Carver.
That was a nice touch because that made me, we've had issues with Stella's relationship with him. So the fact that she kind of made a little joke about it made me feel good.
Yes.
So I enjoyed that as well.
And I even think they could have been taken as a little bit of her trying to like connect them a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's what he needs. And it turns out he needed it because he, offered to have him come hang out.
Yeah. And I mean, Gallo's plan worked. He's like, he's going to go hang out with them now. So I hope we see that he's going to now be a part of the group after this. So
honestly, I don't want to see that until I know if I'm supposed to love him or hate him. Do not make me connect with this guy and then make it bad. Or don't make me hate this guy and then make him good.
I already have nice feelings for him, so I'm gonna be messed up either way. So
I'm so back and forth every week. Like it depends. Honestly, it depends on what his attitude is towards the people in the house every week. Like, okay, no, I don't like you. Oh, okay, I like you again. Oh no, I don't like you. Every week I'm like that.
I like him every week, so I'm already screwed if he's a bad guy. So
you are in big trouble.
Oh well, we'll see.
And I think we are going to see that play out a little bit more because obviously next week we have the guy who's standing there at every scene and it's Carver who's getting upset. It's Carver who's getting in his face.
Yeah.
And the preview ends with Stella yelling, Carver. And that was where it ended.
The thing is though, this guy looks like he's stalking them at every single call.
I think he's stalking Carver. I think he's harassing and attacking Carver.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. I didn't realize that, I guess, from the preview, but that would make more sense.
Because there's a couple times when he approached Carver alone and said some stuff to him. And then he followed him from site to site to site. And then he was standing outside 51 saying the same thing.
So maybe we are going to get some Carver answers next week.
I think so.
This guy will be a lead into that. So that'll be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that's leading into, I mean, that's it we have for Fire, but what they are doing in Fire or PD is the same thing as what they're doing in Fire. But they're taking individual stories.
Mm-hmm.
In Fire, we get this is Fire. Now we're going on to medicine. In PD, lately we've been getting character arcs. We've been focusing on one character a week. And I freaking loved this episode of PD this week. I loved it. It's a Kevin heavy episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like the intro with Trudy. Like I just I
Yes.
love Trudy. She's in my top 5 of all the Chicagoland characters. She's
Yeah.
in my top 5. I
Yeah.
love that woman. And it just like how she's giving him the inspiration to go in hard, but not too hard. But don't go in the middle either. Like,
Like what?
where would you like him, Trudy?
Even that was really good. Like just like his lecture was, Kevin is so perfect in my opinion. Like I think I said to everybody, like, obviously Ruzek's my favorite person on the
Mhm.
show, but Kevin is the best man on the show.
Mhm.
Like I think he's the best cop. I think he's got the best heart. I mean, and we see this over and over again. When he came into that lecture and, at first he was all up, aggressive and like starts, kicking chairs over and whatever. But then the way he brought them all back together and started talking about like tension, but then also about empathy out in the field. And it was just a really good speech.
Mhm.
I loved it so much. I'm
Yeah.
just like, Kevin, this is why we love you, because you're the one that can do these kinds of things.
Mhm. He even brought it because I know we were talking before about with the protests against cops that were kind of like altering who Kevin was. I like how he brought that in here. I mean, he didn't say that explicitly in here,
Yeah.
but he was saying you can't go up to every car expecting some sort of tense life. I mean, you need to be prepared for it, but you
Mhm.
can't go in there expecting that they're all going to come at you, because that's part of the problem with what they were protesting is these
Yes.
cops are just going off and shooting because they aren't thinking.
Mhm.
They're just fear. And so
Yeah.
that's how I wanted Kevin to bring that in,
Yeah.
because Kevin's the perfect person to do that because he has that experience. He knows exactly what the people are talking about, what they're frustrated with in the police. And for him to lead it in there so almost graphically, like he
Yeah.
was because it was tangible, it felt more graphic. It was
Mhm.
he brought them to that place to where they
Yeah.
would be there.
Yeah.
Why was Torres in there?
Because I think it's just for new like officers, and he's a new officer.
Oh, I thought that was a police academy thing. I didn't think they were officers yet. I thought it was police academy.
They called them
It was
they call them
PPOs, right?
PPOs. Yeah, so I'm assuming officer is the O in that. I don't know
But
exactly what
what's the P and the P stand for?
one of them's police.
You don't say.
I don't know. Here, we'll
He
look
needs
it up.
probationary police officers, maybe?
I know if I type in PPO, it's going to give me a medical plan, but that's not what I want. Hold on.
I think I just assumed like with Ruzek, because Ruzek was pulled before he even finished academy.
Yeah.
And I don't remember him going through this. So I just kind of assumed that once Torres was taken on into the intelligence, that was it. He was solid.
Here we go. Probationary police officer.
Oh, so I got it right.
So maybe it just means like new officers. They're probably still on
Okay.
a probationary period, like
I just thought once Torres was in intelligence, he would be good to go. He didn't have to go through
probably
any
it's
of
just
this
like any job though. You've got like a
Makes sense.
probationary period. So that's probably what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I liked also what he was telling Torres, like in the car, how, he was taught like show no fear and all of that. And how he, says like, I couldn't relate to that. That wasn't something that I understood. And so he took his own approach to it, which is one of the things I've always loved about Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
He's not necessarily like going to copy what the next person's doing. Well, I mean, he is his own person and he sticks to it. And he always has been that consistently.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I love watching him and Torres get closer together because Kevin is really raising Torres up in the way a good cop should be raised up.
Yeah.
He's not letting him fly off the hip.
And he's the right person to do it because, I mean, I just feel like, Haley obviously is in her own place. And, Adam and Kim, I mean, they're together and they're doing their thing together. And so I feel like Kevin is the right person to like.
And let's be honest. I mean, we love Ruzek. But Ruzek flies off sometimes in ways he probably shouldn't.
Yeah, we love him though.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. He's my favorite. He's my number one in all the Chicago universe.
Always.
But even so, if you are training up a new cop and you want to make them into the cop you want them to be, Kevin's the one you want training them up.
Yes, I would agree. Absolutely. And that carjacking that they got called to while they're in the car, it's just, oh my gosh, that was like heartbreaking. Every once in a while we get these where I'm just like, this is gruesome and like I didn't expect it. Because even when the mom's talking about how the son was in the car, I was not picturing that he was being drugged by the car. Like I thought, I don't know, I thought he was still in the car and like maybe he's in the passenger seat and they just hopped. I don't know. In my head, that's not what I thought we were going to find when we found this guy laying on the side of the road. even to the point that when we saw him, I'm thinking, why is he all messed up like that? Like it just didn't click in my head, like until we saw this, surveillance video that they drug him.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I mean, what a rough start for Kevin to this
Mhm.
episode because he has that guy die. But Kevin got right down on the, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. But Kevin
Mhm.
got right down on the ground with this guy.
Yeah. Well, and
He
to
held his
reassure-
hand and he kept
Yeah.
saying, "You did good. Your mom's safe. You did good." Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
He's such a good man.
he really is.
He didn't have to do that. He didn't
Mhm.
have to get down on this level, make him feel good and hold his hand as he died. He didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
But he did it because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I tell you though, like we were just talking about like instincts on like on the fire episode. When Burzek is interviewing that gas station attendant, I was like,
Red
there's
flag.
something up with you, Clarita. I think that was her name. I
It was her
like,
name.
you're so nonchalant about
Mhm.
this. And for a second, I was like, maybe it is because there's so many of these, but I don't know. Something just gave me red flags about her.
Mhm.
And I was like, then they left. And of course I was like, oh, well, maybe she's okay. I don't know, but it was definitely, I mean, she was so unhelpful with the footage. I mean, I guess she said the cameras didn't work, but it was just the way she said it, just like,
Mhm.
they don't work. I mean, thankfully the, store across the street, I managed to get on the footage they needed to like,
Yeah.
at least find the car that they drove, getting to the carjacking.
Mhm.
So that gave
And
them
well, no, I think I don't think that was from across the street. I think across the street is where they got where he was drugged
oh,
by the
maybe.
car. They found another pod cam further down because it was a
It's the
few
same.
blocks away, and they saw the
right.
guys in masks get out of the car.
That's right. Yeah.
But with her, like it was red
Mm.
flag. And even when she told them the place across the street had cameras,
Yeah.
that didn't even like stop my suspicion of her. But I
Mm-mm.
couldn't figure out why she was giving that information to them.
Yeah,
Because
same.
something didn't feel right.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And then Ruzek, when he found out that she was a part of it, he's like, I knew it. I knew so. I told you something was off.
He cracked me up when he did his whole like, while this is all very helpful, just his little Ruzek charm. I loved it. I was like, okay, that's funny. So, I mean, now they found the suspects and everything, but I mean, this day just keeps getting worse and worse for Kevin.
I think I actually put in the chat, what a bad start for Kevin.
Yes.
He did not want to shoot that kid, and he didn't.
No.
Clearly, he didn't.
No.
But he didn't want anything to happen to that kid. The guy who is the villain in this story, whose name I can't even remember. I'm sure it's somewhere in here.
Oscar.
We'll get to Oscar.
Mhm.
The way he was taunting that kid to come at Kevin.
Yeah.
And making him full of fear and trembling over Kevin. It was just, I was instantly so angry.
Mhm.
And you could tell that Kevin knew exactly what he was doing. Because Kevin's not dumb. He's a good cop. He knows exactly what this guy's doing. So he didn't direct any of his talking to Oscar. He directed it to the young guy who ended up getting shot.
Yeah.
Even so, I cannot believe this guy lunged for the police officer's gun.
I know. I mean, that was what, like, how did you think that was going to end? There was no way for that to end.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
of course, that's what Oscar wanted.
Yeah.
Of course it is, because this guy knew exactly what was happening. Oscar knew, I don't remember the other guy's name either, Cam. He knew Cam got away. What is the guy who died? Johnny. I should really read this before I start. I know, I had to keep like scanning. So Oscar obviously wanted Johnny dead. That was his whole point in this. Yeah. He figured if he could get him to distract, he could run. Cam was already gone. But it was just so wrong what he was doing. And so for him to pull out his phone, that was his intent, was to get, and I actually think he did it because Kevin put his gun away. I think that's why Oscar pulled out his phone.
Yeah.
Was because he wanted the gun back out. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he wasn't going to freak anybody out without a gun present. So
yeah, I mean, he had this all planned. I mean, and then the kid dies because at first, they said, "Oh, he's fine." I was like, "Okay, cool." And then later, they're like, "Oh, he died at med." I'm like, "No!" Like I was really hoping like he was going to be okay.
I kind of knew he wasn't, because I figured, well, Kevin is not going to catch a break in any capacity in this episode. But I was hoping still.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that where they had their press conference, we missed them by about 10 minutes, I think, because we did visit that shooting location there.
I know, I saw that too.
We wouldn't have seen anybody from PD though, because they weren't on that location. It was just the mom, Johnny's mom and dad. And because remember, we saw the news camera and the ambulance.
But maybe we could have been extras again.
I mean, it was pretty tight shot on their faces, but you never know.
You never know. You never
We
know.
could have just yelled something really on the background.
And then they would have kicked us off the set for good.
Probably, yes. Don't ever come back here. Yeah, probably not worth the risk there.
Yeah.
But these parents are suing CPD. And what I didn't like was even after all this was done, and I get this dad is in pain. I understand it. I think it goes deeper than that. I think he's probably kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
But even in that, he would not apologize for all the horrible things he blamed Kevin for, that he said to Kevin, when it's video proof that this kid accidentally shot himself.
Yeah.
That Kevin, I mean, you can see, I don't know how much the video caught, but in what we saw, you could see Kevin trying to angle the gun away. But when that mom came into that building and said, please just tell me his last words, and Kevin had to walk away, it just, oh my gosh, something inside my mouth heart broke. It was just, oh.
No, I know. That was tough for sure.
It ticked Trudy off too. Like, you don't come inside her precinct and start attacking her cops. You don't, that's a no-no.
No.
And honestly, I think that's the only reason that Kevin went upstairs is because Trudy said go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I did like when this guy got closer and then Adam started to stand up a little taller, and then Adam snuck in front of Kevin when he started coming at him.
So thankful, because I was like, oh my gosh, somebody like help him, But not like the scene after this was the one that I think I was like, oh my goodness, when we're like chasing down Cam, like we found him in his car and like he's driving so erratically. And even Kevin then, like being the good guy, he's like, no, we've got to stop. We've got to stop. And Adam, guns blazing, like, no, we got to catch you. But I think in that part, it was Adam trying his best to defend Kevin. So like he was like, no, we need this. Like, we've got to get you help here.
Yeah. And
the kid just drove off the bridge.
I think he lost control.
Yeah. I mean, but like, I didn't see that coming, I guess.
No, I didn't either. I thought he was just going to drive away.
Yeah. Or maybe there might be an accident, I thought, but I thought they were still going to get him. It was whatever. I didn't realize we were going to totally flip our car off a bridge.
And even Kevin, like when he was like, dude, we're not chasing you. Why aren't you slowing down? I don't think anything would have made him slow down, even if they stopped 5 blocks before, because he knew that the Kevin and Ruzek knew what car he was in.
Yeah.
He knew that they were coming after him. He knew that they wanted him. He wasn't going to slow down no matter what. But I think that I was glad to see Kevin didn't take on all of the guilt that there was opportunity for him to take on in this episode, because he could have. He absolutely could have.
Yeah.
That was shocking. That was absolutely shocking.
It was a lot.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, for this guy's parents, for Johnny's parents, I don't remember his parents' name. I don't remember his last name.
I don't have that. Sorry.
Come on, Jeanette.
I'm sorry.
But for them to know the information they knew, to give out that he was black, that there was gun residue on him, to give out all this information. Yeah. I mean, first of all, how dare you be an officer of the law, especially when just starting out, and you're going to allow yourself to be bribed right from the jump?
Yeah.
So Sanchez was, and I did like how the chief handled that, because I actually kind of thought he was going to push Kevin to do what he wanted to do. I actually thought he was going to try to push Kevin to do something Kevin wasn't able to do, but he immediately fired Sanchez instead.
Yes. And
even though Chief wants him to say he accidentally shot Johnny, I love the look on Hank's face when Kevin's like, no, because it's not what happened. And Hank was like, see, we done? He just looked like such a proud dad. It was awesome. And the fact that this chief was like, no, okay, we'll go with what you want to go. And he started to back Kevin. I was really, really glad to see that, because I was worried they were going to turn the drama on its head.
Yeah. And I mean, because we haven't really liked many chiefs, but this one, I mean, other than his son being shady, I like him so far in the way he handles business. So I hope it stays that way. He's hard, but it seems like he wants to do the right thing. I do kind of miss Sam, but Yeah.
I think he's a little less political than Sam, so it makes it better.
Mhm.
And I think at this point, what they're looking for, what they really need is they need to find Oscar and they need to find his phone. And I think that they,
Mhm.
because of Torres, they finally get a lead on where he's at, right? Or no, how did they get the lead on where his shop was?
That part I don't remember. I can't be responsible for everything. I'm sorry. That I just know they found it, that he was working at some mechanic shop, but I don't remember exactly how we found out where. I think it's a little crazy.
He owned the chop shop.
Yes. And they go there, and I mean, the guy's good though, because he doesn't even have the phone on him.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's, like I said, he knew exactly what he was doing with all of this. He's got that leverage, and I mean, they're gonna have to work for it. I mean, he's wanting them to make a deal, and even Hank was willing to like do this. And I think, because Hank's, just trying to protect Kevin, but Kevin still is like, no, we're not gonna make a deal with this
Mhm.
guy. And I'm like, man, my head, I'm thinking, Kevin, I really hope this doesn't end badly for you, but I am proud of you.
Yes.
But I'm worried at the same time,
Honestly, it's nice to see a good guy win.
Yeah.
And
No, I
get
agree.
dumped all over. And I did like too, like when Kevin had him, obviously Kevin was patting him down for the phone. What
Mhm.
we didn't notice is because Torres was smart. It was
Yep.
after Kevin pulled away and then Torres stood up from the car and was like, oh, look at you
Yeah.
hiding over there. I didn't
Yep.
even realize he was over there. So I like that too.
I love Torres, and I love getting to see him go undercover. He's good. I mean, to
Mhm.
be like so fresh out of the academy and so new at all of this. I mean, he went in there, and I mean, they showed like the time lapse. Here they've had him locked up. He's attempted carjacker too. And they show kind of the time lapse. They're all sitting there just forever. I mean, he's just biding his time. He's not being pushy to get the information. He's waiting, gonna let Oscar ask him, why are you in here? It's so smart. And I think he's a real asset to the team. So I'm excited about that. And he gets him to just tell him everything, tell him that his girl has the phone. And that's where we find out Clarita, she was bad news. We were all right about that. And she's got the phone, and she flips pretty quick actually when they get out there. Like, she's not going to jail for him. She's like, yeah, you can have it. So we get it. And I mean, like you said, it was nice to see him win, because I was really nervous of where we were going to go with this. I mean, we've seen these things happen before where our people like get suspended for, a couple of weeks or whatever. And I was like, please don't let this happen to Kevin. Like, he doesn't deserve it at all.
We did talk about this a little bit earlier when Kevin went back to their house, and what he says to his mom, I think was just it was such a Kevin shining moment what I loved about it too was that when the dad went back inside, Kevin just waited because he knew that mom was going to come out. And so he was kind enough to stay there for her, even though that guy was a jerk to him. He had every reason to leave after that dad was so mean to him. But he stayed because that mom wanted to hear it. And he said he wants to fill in the gaps for her. And what he told her, he didn't have to say those things. He said his last words were, I was just, and then he elaborated and said, I just wanted you to know I was just trying to help, and talks about how he's raising a good guy. And it was good. It was so good.
Like, the only part of this episode that really kind of disappointed me was that we didn't see more about Sean that we had last week. But based on the preview, it looks like we're going to get more of that in the next episode, which makes me excited.
Yeah. And Haley did talk about it just for like a minute with Hank. And I think it was good that they put it in there the way they did it this week, because then we know that they're still looking, that they're still trying to find out. And she says, we should go at him. And Hank's like, no, we need evidence. So I think that that's what she's going to find. We see that Ruzek might be undercover with a young girl. We see that Haley's doing surveillance next week. She goes into wherever Sean's at. And it was so weird and so creepy how he said, what are you doing here? It was almost like he was trying to be seductive, which was gross on all sorts of levels.
Yeah, I didn't like it. And I hope that's not how we're going to. But you know what? I have to admit that in the episode where they first introduced him, I had a weird, like, I didn't know what his role was going to be. So I wonder if she's going to be undercover going that route, just sort of get close to him. It might work.
I mean, maybe. I don't know that she can fully go undercover because he saw how much she wanted to save that girl and how mad she was about
But I
the
mean,
idea for me.
maybe even just to get close to him to be able to like, I
Oh,
don't know.
to act like she's working with him to find this. So not thinking, oh, you're trafficking girls, but help me find the people responsible, sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, lots of this is the storyline we want to hear more about. So that's coming next week, and it will finally be back next week. So, well, not finally, but it'll be back again next week. No more waiting. So it's back to week. We'll be back next week with a Fox Sunday. Resident 911 will be back on. So we will have another one of those episodes next Sunday. And every Wednesday, we have our ABC night where we talk about Grey's Anatomy and Station 19. And Tuesdays is our favorite NBC night. So we're talking one Chicago. Check out our Chicago group. It is one Chicago Family Fan Club on Facebook. Check that out. Come over there, talk about it. Let us know if there's ever been any episodes that you snuck into the background on. Talk to us about those. Let us know if there's ever been an episode where you went to go see filming and you found yourself in the background. We want to hear that because it's exciting to us. PD, Fire Med, any one of them. Let us know. And don't forget to check out our socials and reach out to us with all of your feedback, good, bad. We want to know it all because we want to continue getting better for you. And want to keep providing the content you want. So on that note, we'll see you in a week. Bye, guys.
Bye. Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, Family Fan Club 2021 at wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.